everyone, welcome back to Witches of the Moon. It is Friday and I am your hostess Natalie. Today's topic is witching in the kitchen, so to speak. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about things that you can use in your kitchen, how you can incorporate your craft in your everyday kind of life, in terms of most of us do some sort of cooking at some point. Some of us may do more than others. I'm actually not the primary cook in my home. My husband is the primary cook because I'm out in the field all the time seeing clients, so I usually don't get home till very late. So he does most of the cooking and he really enjoys it. He likes to cook, and it's not my favorite thing. I love to bake, but I'm not big on cooking. However, there are times when I'm making something and I will infuse it with some of my craft. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about how I do that and how it is so easy to work magic in your kitchen. And I mean that on a symbolic level and on a serious level. So first of all, things that you can do, things that you can use in your kitchen. Obviously, when you are in your kitchen, you are working with things like salt, oils, and herbs. Nope. Herbs. I didn't turn the camera around. Sorry, guys. Poppy, rosemary, thyme, pepper, red peppers, garlic salt, garlic, things like that. All of those things are things that you can use that you may be using in your regular everyday recipes. So how can you infuse magic into your cooking or into your kitchen types of activities? Well, it's very easy. Obviously, you can, whenever you're adding salt to something, you can use it as a protective measure. You can say, with this salt, I hereby infuse protection into this meal for my family, which they're going to consume. Same thing with rosemary. Rosemary is very good for protection. It also provides excellent flavor to things. This is probably one of my favorite herbs. I put this shit on everything, and that's no joke. Poppy can be used for certain things. I'm not going to go into a detailed description of what each herb is good for. There's a plethora of sources for that out there. So by all means, do a little research. Look into what herbs are good for certain things. And so you can start to plan out how you're going to utilize these things in your craft, in your cooking. How can you do something? If somebody that you know in your family is having a really rough time, maybe one of your kiddos is getting bullied at school, so you are wanting to do some sort of protection spell or stopping of bullying, you can put in salt, some sea salt, to act as a barrier between your child and the bully. You can add in the rosemary to protect them. You can add in other herbs to kind of ritualistically cleanse the school arena. One of the things that I do is I incorporate sigils in my cooking, and people are like, how do you do that? Well, here's what I do. When I am preparing my daughter's lunch every day, I always make her a sandwich. Usually it's a meat sandwich, but not always. Sometimes she'll want peanut butter and jelly, and so I come up with different ways of doing this. But what I can do is, she likes mayonnaise, mustard, and ketchup on all of her meat sandwiches. So what I will do is, I'll put the mayonnaise on the bread, I'll put the meat on the bread, and of course the meat is round. It's lunch meat, so it's round usually. So what I can do is utilize that as a circle of protection. I say within this circle of protection, and what I do is with the mustard, I will draw a pentacle. And as I'm drawing the pentacle, I will say, by Lord and Lady protected she, as I will it, so mote it be. Then as I put the ketchup on, I'll put a drop of ketchup at each of the four corners, and I'll say, air, fire, water, earth, fill her soul with love and mirth. And so I'll put 5 drops of ketchup on there. And I do the same thing when I make her hamburgers. Now, she loves, loves, loves my hamburger patties. And it's kind of crazy because my husband is a better cook than me, at least if you ask him, he is. And in most cases, I can honestly say he probably is a better cook than I am, simply because he enjoys it more. So I think some of that energy gets infused into the cooking. But when I cook, it is always, always, always with love. And my daughter will always say, oh, Mom's burgers are so good, because she always makes them with love. And, you know, she didn't know that I was infusing it with something to kind of help her mood and her state of being and her protection, because she was going through some really rough stuff when I started this, and it's been something that I've just kind of kept up. But when my husband tasted the burger, he's like, I have to admit, she's right. Well, I did the same thing with his, obviously. But I also was careful about what herbs that I was using. Like I said, I always use rosemary with my beef and my chicken, and so I kind of put that in there with my poultry, any kind of poultry, so turkey, that sort of thing. I use rosemary. When I am putting an herb into a meal, what you want to do is you want to focus your intention. If you're planning a meal and you're making a specific thing, and you don't have a specific goal in mind, you just want, maybe you're feeling like your home needs a little bit of more cleanliness, happiness, you want to cleanse it out, you want to cleanse the spirit of your family, you can take sage. And sage is a very good spice herb that's good for poultry particularly. So maybe you're making chicken breast for dinner. If you're vegan, by all means, you can use herbs to flavor anything that you do. So, you know, this doesn't apply just because I happen to be a meat eater doesn't mean you can't do this if you're not, if you are vegan or vegetarian. But think about the purpose of the herb that you're using, and you would just state, you can speak to the herb as you put it in, or you can speak to the meal that you're preparing, and you're saying, with this sage, I hereby cleanse the spirit, the soul, it never ends. Something, you know, some sort of little incantation. It doesn't have to rhyme. I just like mine to rhyme. So, you know, you just kind of make it up as you go, but you want to state the purpose of each thing that you're adding to your meal. And that's a very good way to infuse things. Now, for me, my kitchen isn't just a place for cooking. As many of you know, I have a shop called the Purple Broom Apothecary, and I make natural, all natural ingredients, soaps, body butters, lotions, lip balms, that sort of thing. So the kitchen is where I do most of that work, because I need the double boiler to melt down the ingredients and put things together. So as I add in the essential oils, as I add in the other oils that I'm using, I will state the purpose of this is this. I add this to bring this, to push away this, to dot, 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 dot. So the kitchen is a remarkably flexible place for utilizing magic. As I've mentioned just in the last 7 minutes, you can utilize sigils, you can utilize incantations, you can utilize various herbs, oils, natural ingredients such as salts and things like that. So it just takes a little bit of research on your part to figure out what each of the herbs are for. And as I've shown in previous videos, you can get many books on correspondences. With a little bit of Google searching, you can find purposes for different herbs. So like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to plan a meal, if you have a specific goal in mind that you're wanting to accomplish, you can plan a meal around that goal by figuring out what spices are used in what meals. Or if you are planning a specific meal and you want to see what kinds of things you can infuse into that, do a little research on the spices that you use in that particular meal and figure out how you can infuse that. As with anything in the craft, utilize what's in your cabinet. Open it up, take a look, and remember that it's your visualization and your intention that is the most powerful part of your working. So the kitchen is an excellent, very easy place to practice your craft without being overtly open about it in many ways. I mean, when I do the sigils on the sandwiches, I do try to make sure that my husband is not aware that I'm doing it. My daughter wasn't aware of it at first. She did happen to walk out while I was putting the sigil on the sandwich. I was like, really, Mom? But I told her, I said, this is my way of protecting you, and you always want to know why my sandwiches taste so good. Well, here you go. So after that, she didn't say anything else about it. So, you know, it's an easy way. There's lots of different variations that you can do, adding in different spices, doing different things, different ingredients even. You might even look into what are some of the magical uses for just everyday vegetables. What do these things represent? For me, for example, I'm of Irish and Scottish descent. Well, French, Dutch, Scottish, Irish. Anyway, my great-grandmother was Irish. So we've always eaten a lot of potatoes in my family. And potatoes to me represent growth and prosperity. Whereas a lot of witches use apples in spells, and I know Lady Gravedancer did a wonderful spell, a bean spell using an apple and for growth, or if you want to grow something, But I also use potatoes in much the same way that a lot of other witches use apples. I will use the potato as a core to start something, and to represent things. So for me, it represents growth and prosperity. When your potato crop dies, you die, such as the potato famine that my great grandmother lived through and came over during. So it's kind of a up to your imagination. This is where your creativity and your craft can really, witches go wild. You know, you can really be creative and come up with lots of different things. You can place the herbs in a certain manner. You can put them in a pentacle shape. You can put them in a circle shape. You can dot them for the four corners. You can choose herbs that to you represent the various elements in your crafting. So, for example, red peppers could represent fire because they have a lot of heat to them. So if you're wanting to bring fire to a relationship or to your meal, you can say with this, you know, I bring the fire of passion, you know. And passion doesn't have to be sexual passion, by the way. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying. It can be. I mean, if that's what you're working towards, sure. You know, if you've got a hot date and you're cooking him a meal or her a meal, you know, throw a little red pepper in there to try to bring that in. But I'm also thinking in terms of just passion for life, passion for a particular goal. Maybe you and your family or you and your partner are not seeing eye to eye on a specific goal, and you want them to become as passionate about something as you are. Then you can infuse that by adding some red pepper and saying, with this fire of passion, da 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 da, whatever, whatever. Same thing with, like I said, with sage for protection. But to me, sage is also representative of air. It's very air, and to me, rosemary is very earthy. So for some people, sage is very earthy. So you have to draw kind of some of your own intentions, some of your own correspondences, and kind of see what seems right to you. Go with your instinct. But that's various different ways. So you can associate the various herbs. Some of them have associations that you can find. So if you wanted to do that, you could see if it's associated with a specific element. But my view is always go with what feels right to you, because the God and the goddess are speaking to you. The universe is speaking to you if you are getting a specific idea. And not everybody's correspondence is going to be as strong for you. So whatever helps you to visualize your intention and to get that where you need it to be, that's what you need to do. So with Valentine's Day coming up, chocolate, which was once considered an aphrodisiac, it obviously contains caffeine, which is something that gets your energy going. You could utilize some spellcraft in that as you're preparing maybe a chocolate dip for something, or you're making chocolate candies to give to someone on Valentine's Day. You could use cinnamon candies to represent the fire of passion and maybe make a chocolate candy, you know. And so with this, I infuse my love, my passion, my da 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 da, and then you could add in the other items, the, you know, cinnamon candies, and say, to this relationship I add the fire of passion, the fire of love, that may it burn forever as an eternal flame, as this cinnamon adds to da 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 da. So just kind of use your imagination. Start kind of thinking about how these things correlate for you. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you're utilizing a certain spice? Smell the spices, taste the spices before you put them into your meal, and kind of get an idea of what seems to come to mind for you with that. What do you visualize? And as you plan and prepare your meals, start thinking about how you can infuse that. And this kind of ties into our topic for week. Our last week of this season is going to be an interesting topic that I think this will relate to very well. I don't want to give it away now. So I hope that my ideas in this video have been eye-opening for you. I would love to hear how you guys utilize the kitchen for your craft or things that you come up with. I love hearing new ideas, because in my professional life as well as in my day-to-day life, I'm always looking for new strategies and new ideas that I can put into my proverbial tool bags. So I'd love to hear your feedback and see what you guys do, and I cannot wait to watch Eva Maria and Dia's videos on this topic, because every time I watch the two of them, I'm really blown away, and I know that everybody's been really on par this season. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing everybody's ideas, because I often don't think I'm a very creative person. Sometimes I think I'm really creative, but when it comes to the craft, sometimes I tend to not be as creative as I would like to be. So hearing some of these fabulous ideas always makes me feel inadequate. But I hope I've given you guys some new ideas on how to utilize the kitchen for your crafting. And when I say crafting, I mean witchcrafting, for your witching. So best of luck to you. Thank you for watching, and please be sure to share your feedback. Blessed be.